Hello everyone, welcome to a new video in the playlist Poetry to Remember. I'm coming back after a long gap, and today's poem that we are going to explore is a beautiful poem which has a very strong message. The name of the poem is Somebody's Mother. The poem has a beautiful message to spread, and the message is that we need to be quite considerate, we need to be very appreciative and very grateful for our parents, elderly people in the society, because old age is inevitable. Once for the other, everyone has to go through this old age, and sometimes, or rather most of the time, old people are quite lonely. They feel very helpless when they don't have their near and dear ones with them. Sometimes old parents, old elderly people are also abandoned. Sometimes their children are very selfish. And today's poem is basically to make us understand that if you see someone who's in need, who is in some kind of pain, then you need to stand by that person. Not necessarily you do a lot of things for that person, but the little bit that you do goes a long way. I hope my message reaches out to everyone. Let's begin the poem. The poem is written by Mary Dow Brine. I'm going to read the poem first and then explain it. The woman was old and ragged and grey and bent with the chill of the winter's day. The street was wet with the recent snow, and the woman's feet were aged and slow. She stood at the crossing and waited long, alone, uncared for, amid the throng of human beings who passed her by, nor needed the glance of her anxious eyes. Down the street with laughter and shout, glad in the freedom of school let out, came the boys like a flock of sheep, hailing the snow piled wide and deep. Past the woman so old and grey, hastened the children on their way, nor offered a helping hand to her, so meek, so timid, afraid to stir, lest the carriage wheels or the horse's feet should crowd her down in the slippery street. At last came one of the merry troop, the gayest laddie of all, beside her and whispered low, "I'll help you cross if you wish to go." Her aged hand on his strong young arm she placed, and so, without hurt or harm, he guided the trembling feet along, proud that his own were firm and strong. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. She is somebody's mother, boys, you know, for all she is aged and poor and slow. And I hope some fellow will lend a hand to help my mother, you understand. If ever she's poor and old and grey, when her own dear boy is far away, and somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night, and the prayer she said was, God be kind to the noble boy who is somebody's son and pride and joy. Ragged and grey. So the woman was very old and she was wearing torn clothes, torn shabby clothes, and she was grey. Now grey doesn't mean that she was wearing a grey cloth or a dress. She was grey overall. That means her life was very dull. She didn't have any vitality. She didn't have any life left in her, in the sense like she had a very dull life. So overall, her personality was grey, in the sense that she was having a very dull life. And bent with the chill of the winter's day. It was extremely cold, and when it is cold, old people actually find it very difficult to endure that cold. With old age, your endurance level also decreases. So this lady, she was bent. She couldn't stand straight because it was severely cold, and the cold weather was having a toll on her health. The street was wet with the recent snow, and the woman's feet were aged and slow. There was a recent snowfall, and with snowfall the street was wet, it was slippery, and on that slippery ground you find it difficult to walk, especially if you are old. Of course, like your feet will lack that firmness, and you will find it difficult to have a grip on the ground. So this lady was also quite aged and she couldn't walk firmly. She couldn't place her feet firmly on the ground. She stood at the crossing and waited long, alone, uncared for amid the throng. She was standing at the crossing. Why? Because she wanted to cross the road. The street was very busy. It was filled with cars. Plenty of cars were rushing past her, but she couldn't, muster up the courage to cross the road. What if she falls? What if she gets injured? So all these things were burdening her mind, and she was standing at the crossing all alone, in anxiety, in despair, that how am I going to cross the road? And nobody actually gave a glance at her. And it happens with us also. We are so busy in our own lives that we often ignore such people who need help. And I think everyone can relate to this situation. While we are on our way to work, while we are on our way for our classes, and any kind of work, whenever we are busy and we are rushing to our workplace, often there are people who need help, and then we think that, oh my God, who's going to stand and who's going to invest some more time? Already we are late. So this lady was also standing like that, and there was nobody to care for her. She was amid the throng, in the middle of a crowd. Throng means crowd of human beings who passed her by, nor heeded the glance of her anxious eyes. So there were many human beings who were continuously passing her by, but nobody cared to look at her. Nobody cared to glance at her anxious eyes. And there was a lady who was standing. Her eyes had the despair and that pain, but nobody bothered. Down the street with laughter and shout, glad in the freedom of school let out. Now the scene shifts from the old lady to a nearby school who had just dispersed its children. During dispersal time, I'm sure all of you must be aware, like there's a lot of noise, clamor, because of the school being dispersed. Why? Children are let free. They are enjoying, and they are enjoying their freedom. After 6 hours of sitting in one place, they feel exhilarated when they come out of the school. So similarly, down the street there was a lot of laughter and shout, because there was a school which had just let out its children. Yes, and till this time, if you're enjoying the video, do not forget to share and subscribe to the channel. Those who are new to the channel, on this channel you will get a lot of content. This is a special playlist which is named as Poetry to Remember. Some of the poetries which touches my heart, I try to bring it over here, explore the poetry. Some could be a part of your syllabus, some are just there for enjoyment. And if you have any other poetry in your mind, do share it in the comments. I would be glad to read them out for you. Okay, let's get back. Came the boys like a flock of sheep, hailing the snow piled white and deep. So the boys came out of the school like a flock of sheep, in numbers. There were plenty of children who came out. So therefore, they have been compared to a flock of sheep. And they welcomed the snow, which was piled, white and deep. So they hailed the snow. They were very happy to see the snow, because children love to play when there's a lot of snow around. So they welcomed the snow and they were shouting in joy. Past the woman so old and grey, hastened the children on their way. So they passed the woman on their way. They also did not notice this lady, and they hastened on their way. They were hurriedly walking ahead. They wanted to reach home. They wanted to enjoy with their friends. Nor offered a helping hand to her. Nobody bothered to give a helping hand to her, to help her cross the road. So meek, so timid, afraid to stir. This is about the lady. She was so meek, she was so submissive, she was so timid, she was, scared. Scared of what? Scared of the car, scared of the world around her. And she was afraid to even stir, make a little bit of movement. She was standing there transfixed to one spot. Carriage wheels or the horse's feet should crowd her down in the slippery street. So what was the apprehension in her mind? What if she gets mowed down by the carriage wheels? Carriage is a vehicle driven by horses. What if, they just crush her down? What if she falls on the slippery street? These were the things, the doubts that she had in her mind. At last came one of the merry troop, the gayest laddie of all the group. So children were coming out in groups, and at last there was this happy group, and in that happy group there was a boy who was very happy. He was the gayest laddie. Gayest here means the happiest young boy of the group. He was very cheerful, laughing, and full of spirit and full of life. So let's see what happens now. He paused beside her and whispered low, "I'll help you cross if you wish to go." So this boy took notice of this lady, and she came near her and he whispered in her ears that, "I'm going to help you cross the road, don't worry." Her aged hand on his strong young arm she placed, and so without hurt or harm. So she placed her aged hand on his arm, and then slowly she was able to cross the road without hurt or harm. So this was like a safe and secure place for the lady. He knew that this boy is not going to hurt her. If he goes with her, if he takes his help, she would be able to cross the road in a very comfortable manner, without any hurt, without any harm. He guided the trembling feet along, proud that his own were firm and strong. So he guided this old lady. Her feet was trembling, means shaking. Wobbly feet she had, like with age you lack the strength. So she was also walking with trembling feet, but in contrast to that, the boy's feet, it was firm and it was strong. So you can see there's a juxtaposition of youth and old age. The contrast, very beautifully the poet has brought it. She is somebody's mother. Boys, you know, for all, I'm sorry, I missed one line. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. So after helping the lady cross the road, he now goes back. And he tells his friends that, first of all, he was very content. He was very satisfied. There was a lot of gratification in his voice. What did he say? He said, "She is somebody's mother, you know. For all, she is aged, poor and slow." She is aged, she is elderly, she is old, she is slow now, she can't walk like us, and she's also poor. But she is somebody's mother. Maybe her son is not with her right now, but she is somebody's mother. And I hope some fellow will lend a hand to help my mother, you understand. So similarly, the way I have helped her, I also hope that some other day, some other time, when my mother will become old, there will be a spirit like me, a soul like me, not a spirit. There will be a soul like me who would be caring, who would be so concerned that he also will help my mother to cross the road. If ever she is poor and old and grey when her own dear boy is far away. So when my mother is going to turn old, I hope there's somebody to take care of her if I am not around. Sometimes children are not around. Sometimes they're out for work. Sometimes they live in a faraway land, right? So when I'm not around, I hope somebody is there. Just the way I have helped this lady, somebody takes care of my mother also in the same way. And somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night, and the prayer she said. So what do you get when you do such deed? You get countless blessings. And somebody's mother refers to this old lady who was that day standing on the road. So that night when she went home, she must have given countless blessings to this boy who helped her cross the road. And what did she say? Was God be kind to the noble boy who is somebody's son and pride and joy. Such children, such human beings are a source of pride and joy for the parents. It's not your medals, it's not your degrees, it's not your marks that makes you a great human being. Those things are important. But how considerate you are, how humane you are, what kind of human qualities that you have, that makes you a proper human being. So this is the boy who gets, this kind of children, this is the boy who gets countless blessings that day. And this is what we learn from the poem, that if you see somebody who is in need of help, who is in pain, who wants just maybe a smile, a greeting for you from your end also goes a long way. There must be elderly people in your neighborhood, in your society, your relative, your grandparents, right? So you should also be kind to them. Don't condemn them just because they are old. Remember, old age doesn't leave anyone. It's inevitable. It will come to one and all. And so therefore we need to be considerate, we need to be kind to everyone, especially the elderly, right? So I think that's all for the poem. I just love this poem. It's simple though, but has a beautiful message. And if you have enjoyed, you know what you have to do. You just have to subscribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I do share a lot of content on Instagram also. The links for all my social media connections are there in the description box. And that's all. Have a beautiful day ahead.